Overwatch invented the hero shooter, but Marvel Rivals might have already surpassed it. Coming from me, who hit Grandmaster and was top 500 early in a season in Overwatch, this was multiple years ago. This is not something I would say lightly, but Marvel Rivals is objectively better than Overwatch. I started playing Overwatch back in Season 4 and stuck with the game for years, but somewhere along the way, Overwatch stopped being the game it used to be. Essentially, when I started playing in Season 4, it was great. Every character felt balanced. It felt like you could make, I guess, a change in the gameplay. Where, let's say, if you're playing a DPS, you can actually have an effect on the other team. If you're playing tank, you can also have an effect on the other team. That's just how it felt to me, where you could actually make a difference in your team's gameplay by yourself and not, I guess, with your team, where you need healers to constantly just stick with you and constantly heal you and sit on your shoulder. It's just so stupid now. Early on, you had clear hero roles rather than somewhat mixed hero roles now. You had meaningful counterplay, and your skill mattered. Where now there's characters like Domina. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Domina, I think is how you pronounce it. She is a tank that does way more damage than any DPS around her. And of course, like every game, if you add a new character, of course they're going to be OP. I don't necessarily know how old they are, but if it's within, I don't know, a couple of weeks, then clearly the developers of the game don't really care. But positioning used to matter. Cooldown management mattered. A lot of characters like Doomfist, they have insane cooldown range. Like, you could punch somebody and basically immediately get it back and punch somebody else. It's insane. And I remember when he was added, I played back when he was, of course, added. I remember that. And it was kind of insane that they made him into a tank. He was always a DPS. That's how good he was. And it seems like they didn't change anything besides add more health, which is kind of insane. Interesting choice by the developers. But lately, I got back to Overwatch. This is after, oh my goodness, probably like 6 years of not playing, something like that. Maybe 4 years. I would say 4 years more. But try to like gauge how long it's been. It's been a while. Um, yeah, it's been so long, to the point that they added like 15 characters or something like that since I started playing. It's Well, I was really shocked to see all the different characters and learning everything else. But now, what I've noticed is that heroes dominate entire metas. Essentially, Domina, somebody that is insanely, I guess, goated, super good character. They have a shield that is really good, and then they also have something that does a lot of damage. It just doesn't really make much sense. I understand the gun that she has and everything. What it should be is it should be different, where tanks should tank, but she's more of a DPS just with a shield, right? I mean, I like adding different characters and stuff and doing a lot of different things, but that just seems pretty OP, overpowered. But I don't know. Characters feel less squishy as well now, where characters have extreme survivability. Basically, if you're playing somebody like Domina, you can just get pocket healed the entire game and not die. It's just, I'm really shocked at why they made that specific character, but there's other characters like that too. It's just like it's insane how and why they added a character that is it supposed to be a tank, but they do a ton of DPS. Like, I've played Domina and I did like 4k more damage than my DPS on my team. And I don't know if that says I'm good or if it says that the character is OP, or maybe the DPS on my team sucked. but it's just like it's insane. Um, they need to rework the characters, and it doesn't seem like they actually care about doing that. Another thing too is if we go back to the Doomfist thing, he's one of the characters. I automatically ban Domina, Doomfist, and that flying cat. I don't even know. I think their name's like Cat or something. That character's also really good. Like basically a DPS as a support. I've seen that cat have way more DPS than the people on their team, which is interesting for a healer. I guess maybe it's how you play too. There's a lot of different things. But if we go back to the Doomfist thing, he was always I guess a disruptive hero. He was always super good. He's very difficult to bounce because it's a high mobility character that needs to I guess do these functions where essentially he punches up and then punches forward, which makes him fly, and then he also has to get out of that situation. But if we compare his cooldowns to somebody like Genji, let's say, Genji obviously is going to lose against somebody like Doomfist because he doesn't do a ton of damage. He doesn't have high mobility compared to Doomfist. It's very interesting, and the fact they made him a tank is very hard to understand. Like anytime you play against somebody that just plays Doomfist constantly, you're screwed, and that's why I constantly ban him. And that goes back to my other point that when certain heroes exist in a match, the entire game revolves around them. AKA, if you play against a Doomfist, he's going to have the most damage. He's going to have the most, I guess, quote unquote tankings. It's not even really tanking. He just dives in, takes damage, and that's the quote unquote tanking, which doesn't really make much sense to me, at least. Um, it's just when new heroes are added, that's great. I love that. When new heroes are added and not reworked to make them more balanced and seamless into the game, where they are now the new meta, it's just that's not how to do it. There's long periods where one hero or multiple heroes dominate compared to the other ones. Like Reinhardt isn't played that much anymore, at least from like my comp games I played, and I like playing Reinhardt. He's a lot of fun, but constantly I'm told switch to a better tank, and I'm like, well, when I was playing, Reinhardt was one of the better tanks. He was the one of the best, and it's just very interesting how it's kind of changed now that it's so meta driven that if you're not playing one of these mainstream characters, you're kind of screwed for the game and you're probably going to lose. AKA, in competitive games, players should lose because of skill, not because the other team picked the correct hero. It's just so stupid. Now, when I transition into Marvel Rivals now, I'm a newer character on Marvel Rivals. My friend, he's one of the higher ranks. He's not. I don't. What are the ranks? Celestial or whatever. He's not that one, but I don't know. He's high up. He's the equivalent, I think, of a either a master or a grandmaster from Overwatch to Marvel Rivals. He plays a lot, and I've gotten some insight from him. But from what I see, when you go to Marvel Rivals, players already know and care about the characters compared to Overwatch. I mean, we know that Overwatch is pretty heavy into the Rule 34, if everyone knows. I think it's the game with the most ever, which is hilarious. Like, wow, this game that I played for so long is just so freaky, apparently. But the character, you already know the characters in Marvel Rivals, right? You know Spider-Man, Hulk, Magneto, Iron Man, Doctor Strange. You already love them. So why wouldn't you rather choose, I guess, a game with these pre-made characters that you know, and you're like, oh, hey, I get to play Spider-Man this game. That's kind of cool, right? But it's also easier to understand that, like, what the roles are, I guess, as well, where you instantly understand abilities and roles as like once right when you use them. Um, and Marvel Rivals doesn't need to convince you to care because you already do. I mean, it's that freaking simple. Now, when I transition into the combat of Marvel Rivals, the characters feel more vulnerable. That's the first thing I noticed. I right when I was playing Overwatch that same day I played Marvel Rivals, and I'm like, in Overwatch, it's impossible to kill anybody. You could play Bastion and not kill anybody. He's a machine gun player basically. You transition it into somebody like Punisher with that same machine gun, and you could shred the other team super easily. Like it's kind of insane the amount of damage that the amount of damage they do each of them separately. Like they both do a lot of damage, but because of how squishy the characters are, it changes how you play too. It's very interesting. But damage sticks, of course. The healing is totally different. The fights resolve faster to me. Like I could play. I was in a fight on Overwatch for like a minute compared to probably 30 to 40 seconds on Marvels. It just depends on what rank you are too, because I'm told by my friend that fights last way longer. Um, that's what he told me. But the way I see it though is that when you hit somebody in Marvel Rivals, it actually feels like you did something. Where that damage kind of stays for a longer time than Overwatch, where somebody's just gonna pocket heal this person, and if they're playing a tank, you just lose because they're gonna get all the heals. They're in the front line. But that's also, I guess, a playing thing. Now, I know that Overwatch has ability synergy where, let's say, I'm playing Zarya and my friend is playing Moira, and I activate my ult, he activates his ult. Then that's technically synergy, but I feel like it's much easier on Marvel Rivals. Although, like, once again, I'm a newer player on Marvel Rivals. I could be wrong about that. I feel like they're honestly about the same when I think about it. But the fact that Overwatch is so meta driven compared to Marvel Rivals, where you could play anybody. I'm assuming in any game you're going to get dogged on if you don't play what people want you to play. But Overwatch just feels so much more meta driven, and the it just I, it's just so frustrating. The one thing that I like about Overwatch, however, is that you can queue in that role. Like let's say I wanted to play only DPS, I could queue as only DPS. I don't know if Marvel Rivals has that. Last time I played Marvel Rivals, I didn't notice something like that while I was playing comp. I think that would be interesting because my team for one of the games I played had, I think it was one tank and then four DPS and one healer, which was fun, but obviously I would rather have either two tanks, two healers and then two DPS. But I could understand having three DPS, but that's the one thing I like about Overwatch is that you queue into those roles, and how it goes like in Marvel Rivals, it's a lot of fun. It's creative ability combos. I know that your ultimates are essentially the same compared to Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, where like Soldier's ability is the same as Star Lord's essentially, although Star Lord can fly with his. That's one. Zenyatta has the same ability as Luna Snow, essentially with that big circle around the thing around them. I feel like though it feels different, I guess. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Now, one thing that totally ticked me off while playing Overwatch, and I actually undownloaded Overwatch because of this. There's actually two things. So number one, the reporting system. So you could be reported for saying that what somebody on your team was bad. It could be totally true. I had a DPS that had like 4k damage and I had 12k, and I'm the bad guy because I called them out on it. And by me saying, "Hey, could you switch?" or "Hey, you're actually doing bad. Can you just play something else?" Like they didn't like that clearly. I got reported multiple times for it and subsequently muted, which is insane. I didn't say go fuck yourself. I didn't say anything bad. I just was like, "Hey, you're not doing well. You didn't play well." Like I'm just giving them I don't know. In some people's eyes, it might be toxic. In my eyes, it's more constructive criticism, right? But I'm telling them, hey, this would be better for next time. And somebody, like their whole squad, could report me, and I could just get muted for no reason. But another thing, I'm in a comp game, and Overwatch makes me download a 14 gig update. What? That's crazy. A 14 gig update in the middle of a game? I immediately got rid of the game after that. I wasn't like livid or anything, but I was just like, "What? This does not make any sense." Like, what the heck? But I feel like the main problem is the meta, how the meta goes. I know all games have meta, right? There's certain gun that's good in Warzone. There's certain characters that are better than others in Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. But Overwatch metas are repetitive. They force certain heroes that aren't fun. Like literally, they're not fun. Domina is not fun to play, guys. Doomfist, he might be fun because you can do a lot of damage, but it's just to me they're not fun. Now I guess that's more subjective, but it's just when I play Marvel Rivals, I know there's certain characters that are better than others. Certain DPS that do more damage. Moon Knight does a ton of damage, but he might not be good for certain times as well. What I'm saying though is that it doesn't necessarily force a meta. Like you need healers and whatnot, so that's why it's a healing meta. But I feel like that's better than what Overwatch is doing. Now, Marvel Rivals obviously wins when I'm comparing each of them. You know, Marvel Rivals has character appeal. It feels better with combat. The ability, creativity, there's certain abilities that are just more interesting and not repetitive like Overwatch. And you have nice team coordination. Um, a lot of people want to coordinate, you know? Now, Overwatch struggles with bounce issues, oppressive metas, and horrible communication systems. And the fact that it wants me to update the game in the middle of me playing it. Like, what the heck? That's so stupid. But Overwatch created the hero shooter genre. We all know this. Marvel Rivals might be the game that perfects it. I love the characters in Marvel Rivals. Some of them are bad as hell. Hashtag, what's that Invisible Woman skin? Oh, Malice. Malice, bro. Come on, we all know that. Come on. Wait, you guys know what I'm talking about. But if Blizzard doesn't seriously rethink how Overwatch works, Marvel Rivals might not just compete with it, but it might replace it completely. But that's all I got to talk about. Marvel Rivals is objectively and I guess subjectively better than Overwatch. Thanks, guys.